Welcome back, welcome back. Go ahead and take a seat. We're excited to get to our first panel of the day. So go ahead, take a seat, get those waters, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so as you are already aware, online marketplaces are setting up a new trend that enhances competition in the world of e-commerce. How do you as an e-commerce store manage to compete? We are excited to welcome our first panel, which will discuss the numerous ways to increase revenue and enhance the variations and numbers of products. I'm going to hand it over to our session moderator, Mr. Andrew Lascano, who is the founder and CEO of Custom Craft Consulting.
Hello, my name is Andrew Lascano. I'm from Denver, Colorado. And I'm going to introduce today a group of individuals that are far more experienced than me, but very diverse group. So our topic is e-commerce, and I have a background. I've worked in startups. I'm a software consultant in the construction industry. So I work with real estate investors, contractors, home builders and other specialty contractors. But I have a background in marketing. I worked at Angie's List, and I worked with a company that raised about $25 million for the startup that was focused on collecting data for basically the beverage industry, so Anheuser-Busch and Miller Coors and things like that. So that's a little background about me, but I'll get into it and introduce the guests. The first person in the panel is Olivier. So give a warm welcome to this gentleman.
It doesn't. Oh, good job pronouncing my name. I'm going to sit right here, if you don't mind. Hi, guys. So my name is Olivier. You can say Oliver. It doesn't matter. I've been working in digital marketing for a while now. I'm CEO of a digital marketing agency based in LA. I've spent a lot of time doing marketing, online marketing stuff. So, we're going to have fun tonight.
What's that?
We're going to have fun today.
Yeah. So bring up the next contestant.
The next one.
That is Tino.
I don't know. There I am. Hi. So my name is Tino Dietrich. I'm from Miami. We have an online store, an e-commerce store. We are kind of competing in the marketplaces, but we do direct to consumer ourselves. And we just recently launched our own brand called Better Love. So it's a DTC model right there. I always say it's like Casper, the mattress company, if you guys are familiar with that. Similar, because we also stay in the bedroom with our toys and tools. So yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Taylor.
All right, thank you. So my name is Nick Taylor. I currently work for a tech startup in Seattle, Washington called Modus. We specialize in digitizing title and escrow. We just raised about $13 million in our Series A. And before that, I spent 9 years at Zillow Group, leading our Premier Agent business. When I left in January, our business was doing about $900 million in annual revenue. So it was a nice little business that we built, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Mike Kujanik.
Hi everyone, great to be here. Mike Kujanik, founder and CEO of Magnitude Digital. We are a digital marketing agency fully integrated in New York City. We also have some remote locations in Denver, LA, Leeds, and London in the UK as well. But yes, we are a fully integrated shop. We work in paid media, SEO, performance display, affiliate, and SEO. Been in the business for quite some time. Started my career at Google and continued on from there to the agency side in New York, working for WPP's MediaCom as well as iProspect, and then started Magnitude Digital back in 2012. So looking forward to the discussion.
So we're pretty diverse, but we came up with a few topics, and the three that we came up with were Amazon, friend or foe, 2030 outlook on how e-commerce will evolve in the next 5 to 10 years, and what's the right new customer acquisition mix for e-commerce businesses. So where would you like to start, Mike?
You know, I think there's been a lot of discussion here amongst ourselves about the role of Amazon in running an e-commerce business. And we certainly, from the agency perspective, I'm sure Olivier would agree with me too here, this is something that either we work with them or we work against them in many ways. So I think, you know, Andrew, this would be a great topic. Obviously, we welcome questions from the audience as well.
We'll lead it off.
Yeah, I guess, you know, one thing to say was, so we've been working with businesses from small business to enterprise level that have looked at different ways of, say, isolating Amazon and running Amazon ads alone to promote e-commerce, as opposed to a more broader multi-channel mix. And in particular, we've seen both for enterprise and small business that if you're running Amazon alone, and I think this is kind of a logical conclusion, you're not doing anything to grow your brand. And case in point, we see a lot of cannibalization, obviously, by Amazon. Amazon takes great strides to take more credit or to bring more people, that is, to the Amazon storefront than to your direct e-commerce experience. So case in point, in running Google, running Bing ads, if you're not, in the absence of running ads for your own brand, typically you'll see Amazon will run in top position. So for our clients, they'll say, well, hey, you know, I'd like to, you know, allocate more of my budget to Amazon, of course. Well, it's a short-filled promise in a way. In that you see a spike in revenue, you see the ACoS costs of running all those branded search ads as, you know, very gratuitous for the brand. But in the long term, you're not doing anything to grow demand generation. So the question is, what is the ideal mix, right? How can we work with Amazon? Let's just assume that we're talking about an enterprise level brand here, and we want to have that ideal mix. And maybe that's the way we can kind of position this as, you know, what would be, you know, how should we support that? But Olivier, I can kind of start with a position there. I think that you should own your branded terms, branded campaigns, that is across paid search. Paid social should be on for retargeting, for lookalike audience targeting, and so on and so forth. But I also, you know, you should utilize some of Amazon's ad products too. Sponsored products, for example, it always does well for us. Headline search ads, of course, protect your brand. That's obviously key. So I feel that not necessarily buying into everything that Amazon offers, that will help you. I think there are pitfalls to it, which I'll leave to, you know, later in the discussion here. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I think you're right on the fact that if you want to basically develop your brand, it's going to be basically a challenge to include, well, at least to have like a storefront like on Amazon and doing that like indirectly on your e-commerce site. But I think it really depends on your goal. You know, the goal of. I see it like basically if you do you want to make money, you know, right? Or do you want to build a brand? And it's two very, very different approach. There is a lot of people who are doing like Amazon only and selling things on Amazon because they want to make money, but they don't give a beep about their brand. I don't think I can say like the F word here, but I'm French, so I'm sorry. But basically, it's really. Do you want to make money or do you want to build a brand? And if you want to build a brand, I think Amazon is having like a storefront on Amazon is not necessarily like a benefit for you, because you're gonna sell more and you're gonna sell like a lot of stuff on Amazon, but it's gonna lack on the e-commerce side. However, having like a presence and maybe like a limited presence of your products directly on Amazon to sell and create some brand awareness, but being able to basically bring like a unique like experience directly on your e-commerce. That's something that could work. But I feel like you told us like a few minutes ago that you are doing like e-commerce like for a while now, but you have like built a brand based on that. So I'm interested in seeing basically the gap between Amazon and building a brand from your perspective.
Sure. I believe it really depends on your positioning too. So if you are a brand, you have a USP, right? You have to have a strength. If you don't have a strength that you stand for, that you want to be known for, nobody's going to pay a premium. You'll be downgraded to a commodity. You're back in your Amazon marketplace. Yes, right? Just to stay in the beep area. So I think you really have to think about that. Do you want to make money by selling stuff? That's the rat race. Every day, every day, every day. If you want to build a brand, if you want to be known for something, let's take Chewy. Chewy is a great example. One of our neighbors, so to say, they entered a space where everybody said, nah. The venture capitalists said, nah, good luck, trying whatever you're trying. Look, I mean, I think they're successful to a certain degree. Do they make money? That's a complete different discussion, because honestly, not a lot of companies make money in e-commerce. A lot of companies take e-commerce as an additional sales channel. And it's not like I'm a pure e-commerce company. If you are a pure e-commerce company and then you do an Amazon, no, I don't believe that that's going to work. You can take Amazon as an addition, not as your single sales channel to build a brand. So I think that is really important. Again, look at Chewy, and I think these guys, from the idea they could go and take Best Buy, they can take pretty much anyone in the consumer sphere that sucks at service, as an example, because they just kill it. They send you flowers when your dog dies. They send you a postcard with your cat on the beach when you're on vacation. I mean, they just kill it. And that's a strength. That is what they're known for. Not only, but also. So I think that's really where you have to start the whole discussion with what's Amazon and me and brand and making money and stuff.
I kind of want to chime in on this for a sec. I think it might be helpful just to reset really quickly and I guess make sure everybody's aware that if you're not aware on this topic, I think the correlation on this discussion of Amazon versus like your own or not Amazon, it really boils down to like the cost of selling a good on Amazon. And what I would say, speaking from my tenure at Zillow, where the marketplace that was created on Zillow, similar to Amazon, is a marketplace for buying all types of goods and services that you can get across any business or any kind of consumer need. On Zillow, it's all about real estate, and we caught a lot of flack. Caught a lot of flack in the industry for our rates. And the discussion was the same. The discussion is, do you participate in big marketplaces or not? And I think the discussion that you guys are zeroing in on, which is really like, what is your intent, is a very good question that you have to ask. And I think if you decide to play in the Amazon space, I think the question that you have to also ask as a business person is, what is the lifetime value of someone that you acquire off of Amazon? And that was what you were getting to earlier. And if you're not measuring LTV off of Amazon business, you're probably missing a big opportunity to actually drive repeat business. And I think then you're just going to get back to this rat race where you're not actually creating any differentiation, you're not creating any brand, you're not creating any awareness to what you stand for other than being a distributor of goods with a small markup.
And I don't think that it's in Amazon's interest to really make sure that the customer connects with the brand he or she is purchasing. They put themselves in between. They make sure there is no direct communication and so on and so forth. There's probably a ton load of reasons why, but one reason is that they don't want that. You're on a marketplace, you play by their rules, and that's it, and they dictate. So when you look at lifetime value, I would say you have to understand that that is very, very limited for you in terms of investment. And when you say cost, I think there's opportunity cost as well involved. And that is what people don't see. They all get blinded by that shiny thing, you know, oh, let's make some money quick. Let's sell a ton load of socks on Amazon. It's not that easy anymore. It used to be less complicated.
Well, and I think like Warby Parker is a really interesting business model where Warby Parker has created this really. Is anybody familiar with Warby Parker, the glass eyewear provider? That's a really interesting business. Like they've not built a business off of creating content and creating this marketplace. They've basically done it through generosity and really competitive pricing. And the generosity of giving the benefit that a client gets is something that's very scalable. Mm-hmm. It doesn't require content or a copywriter to create all this content to drive consumer interest into a marketplace. It can be done really quickly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at the same time, they are resolving like a problem, which is basically, it's very complicated to, and it's very expensive too. Yeah. When you don't have like healthcare, etc., and even when you have, it's very expensive to have like glasses or like contacts, and so basically they are resolving like a problem that a lot of people have. So I think that's also something that is part of the brand too. Mm-hmm. So that's also like solving a problem is something that is really important.
Adding to what you were saying there too, I mean, you all know I was speaking of being in favor of diversification of marketing channels, but one idea here is in this era of marketplaces, how we reinforce the brand on this is, providing consumers with the incentives to buy direct from the e-commerce experience you're promoting, not to necessarily go to Amazon. Of course, Amazon is fine. It's a walled garden of its own, but it could be in price. Looking at price diversification between what you're promoting on your site versus what you're listing on Amazon. The other big factor for us is offering Amazon checkout, for example, a means of paying for the product or service or so through your site versus Amazon. So, limiting the amount of transference of people leaving your site to transact at Amazon, which is key. And then there's the shipping incentive as well. Which is going to be a harder bridge to gap in light of the Prime one-day free shipping that will be available later this year. In the era of Prime free two-day shipping, it's been a little bit easier for some brands to match that and provide customers with less incentive to drop their shopping session or shopping carts to move over to Amazon and check out with Prime. So the key still would be is the pressure is on for brands, yes, but the key would be to diversify and ensure that brands, that nurturing and encouraging customers to check out with your e-commerce experience comes first, Amazon second.
All right, so I kind of want to jump to this, not the next slide, but the following one after that, and then we can come back to see what it's going to evolve in the next 5 to 10 years. So. What's the right new customer acquisition mix for e-commerce businesses? Who would like to move?
Pass.
The agency.
No, that's a complicated one, but basically that's the core of the business, customer acquisition. If you don't acquire new customers, and you don't retain them. Basically, you're not selling, you don't have a business, you're out of business. So I think what's important, and this is definitely part of the topic here, is when you're selling on Amazon, basically, there is no communication with the consumer directly.
What
When
about
you have an
What about
e-commerce-
reviews?
Huh?
What about reviews?
Reviews?
Like when they
It's reviews. Yeah, can you really trust reviews today? Seriously?
A number of them.
Sometimes, yeah, but
Bad ones?
it's
yes, I don't know.
it's yeah.
Average rating.
Well, I mean, you're communicating with the customer. My question for that is, when I was with Angie's List, for example, and I don't know if I'm not as familiar with Amazon, but when you are building your brand, and I'm using Angie's List again as an example, but when I was building my brand on Angie's List, I was small. Nobody knew me. I didn't have any money, so I used Angie's List as leverage to grow my business, and I was building my brand at the same time. The problem is that I built a brand, people know my brand, but I got to use Angie's List millions and millions of dollars of advertisement, so every time you saw their commercial, it was my advertisement. They would go on the website and they would see my name because I had the best reviews or whatever. But so the problem with when you're building your brand on Amazon or Angie's List, and this is what I'm trying to ask, is what happens if they change the rules and their business model changes, like when they merged with Home Advisor. Mm-hmm. Their whole strategy changed and it shut my plan down. I knew that was going to happen, but if you're building your brand at the same time on the back end, I don't think necessarily that it was a bad move. And I think small businesses could do the same thing on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that is correct. I just, if putting this in real terms, you don't want to put all eggs in one basket, obviously. You want to diversify. You wouldn't want to build your business model just on one channel alone, be it Angie's List, be it Amazon or so. But to put this in real terms, right, I mean, understanding everyone who's here, for the most part, we're talking about small and medium-sized business. So say you have $50,000 to allocate for a marketing budget. You're an e-commerce business. You need to be profitable. You need to be able to pay your staff, run the business, continue on your day-to-day. What do? Right? What's the big question here? So number one is start with your site. Ensure your site is finely tuned for a customer checkout experience. Take the mobile-first approach. Mobile first. Make sure that it renders as you would want to within an iOS or Android experience. Ensure that, and understanding that most e-commerce now is about 70%, at least from what we're seeing in search marketing, about 70% of traffic now is mobile versus about 30% desktop, to put that into real terms. Your designer may present you with something, it looks fantastic. You end up seeing that 70% though, in a badly optimized site, it's a waste. So starting with the site is one. Number two, what are you getting from the site? That is SEO. So look at your organic visibility. How are you ranking in search engines? What's your domain authority? Who's linking to your site? That's actually a quick pitfall. You want to check out who's linking to, because that can impact how Google and other search engines see your site as a valued site within the ecosystem. So SEO number one. Number two, continue with that with paid search. Now, granted, Google and Bing have been very costly. The cost of acquisition has increased, CPCs have increased, but it's not to say don't do it. Be present in your brand search terms. Look at your competitor terms. Don't use trademark terms in your ad copy. Big no-no. Generic terms, hit or miss. That will be something that you want to consider for seasonal times, promotional times. So there you are. You have SEO at the bottom of this funnel. You have paid search a little bit higher than that. Then you're into paid social, which is more the consideration side. And then you're at that point, you're looking at Facebook. Facebook organic reach, if you're just bringing somebody in to post, in all likelihood, it's going to the ether. Nobody's reading it. Facebook has tweaked its algorithm in the last year and a half to basically ensure that you are doing either a boosted or sponsored post, or that you're running a traditional ad campaign to promote your services. Above and beyond that, display retargeting is a key. So if you have people that are on your site that haven't converted, haven't filled out the form, whatever it may be, or checked out, run display retargeting. Keep them top of mind. There are some pitfalls to that too. I'm not going to go into that right now. And then above and beyond that, there are other things that you may be presented with, TV, radio, other means. Not always bad, but just be careful on that case. But within say a $50K monthly budget here, which is about average or so on the medium-sized business side, this is what you probably should be thinking, at least from my perspective.
So Tino, you have a lot of experience. What is one quick hack that you can give these people to take away from this panel discussion?
I think it's really important to understand your customer and where they are at what stage of a cycle. So you can run all these campaigns, obviously, but you also have to make sure that the message you're getting out there is targeted towards where they are in their journey. Is someone just looking? Is someone really out with the credit card? It's all different purchase behavior. We spoke about it, you just said mobile. Nobody's sitting there on their mobile phone for like an hour just looking for a product or getting inspired for
My wife.
But then again, she's probably all over the place.
That's
and not just one
Mine
site.
too.
Yeah, she's all over the place. You got that.
So that's my point. Like, you really have to understand. And even if they start a journey, they're going to go everywhere. And even if you retarget, make sure that your message when you retarget is actually according to that. So it is more. It's really a 360-degree angle you have to take. And you have to put yourself into the shoes of your customer. And we tend to forget that. We tend to be kind of blinded by our own Kool-Aid or whatever. And, that's wrong. People are, when it comes to that, and I include myself, we're not smart. Consumers are not smart. They really want things super simple, which is part of the reason why they go to Amazon, because it's very convenient. So think about that.
I want to chime in on this real quick. In addition to some of the tactics that you guys have discussed, I think one concept I think would be interesting to keep top of mind is what Airbnb has leveraged over their history, which is this concept of 6-star experience. So there's a book called Upstarts, which is a great book that kind of dissects the growth trajectory of Uber and Airbnb and Lyft. And a lot of really good learnings from a high growth business to take from that book. But one of the key findings that was uncovered from Brian Chesky was that, being obsessive about the customer experience and the customer journey and out delivering to what is expected is something that you really want to do whenever you start, because every customer is so critical to getting the flywheel going. And one of the things that we've started doing at our company, and we're digitizing title and escrow, but at the end of the day, title and escrow is still very manual, right? If you've ever bought a home. And so one of the things that we do is within the first 2 hours of a purchase and sale agreement coming in, we're on the phone with the buyer and the seller, and nobody is doing this, at least not in the Seattle area, to the point where our NPS score is like 62. It's 62. We've been around for a year, and like the incumbents are in the low 10s, 12s. And so it's a really good example of where you dissect the customer journey and you think like, hey, at this stage, should we send a confirmation email? Okay, how should the confirmation email be written so we can really just show this person increased attention and a differentiated experience? And those are the little tactics that don't require money that can just really cause someone to say, whoa, that wasn't an Amazon experience. That was different. That was fun. That was cool. Just something to keep top of mind.
One thing, I think what's important there is that you have to connect the dots. You have to make sure that you can follow up. You have to you can't promise something and then not deliver. That's a lot of, in the day and age of reviews, that can hurt badly. And people always think, yeah, we're gonna get this done. No. Make sure you will get it done. Don't promise something if you don't know you're gonna get it done.
Over-promise and over-deliver, sir.
I think I see a question.
Let me run it to you. I beat her.
So y'all have been talking about, of course, because of the topic, you've been talking about Amazon and Friend of Foe, etc. So there are two organizations that I wanted to mention. One was Etsy, because Etsy gives you a very, very personalized experience. You can interact directly with the store owner on Etsy, and they actually personalize it according to whatever you want, which is mostly small businesses on Etsy. And for whatever they're selling, they can customize it to what your needs are, and you're able to get that experience, which is, so you have that interaction, which you don't really have on Amazon because you don't get that. And I think Etsy is pretty successful. You have repeat customers, you're going back again and again, and people are building brands on Etsy. That was one. The second one was actually Redfin. Now, depending again on the kind of customer you are for buying a house, we bought our house through Redfin because we were doing our own research. We just wanted the Redfin person to actually set up the tour for us and to make those calls. But we were able to plan our entire tour ourselves. We knew Redfin gives us back a little bit of the money at the end, so we got back,
1.5?
Yeah, pardon?
1.5%,
Whatever.
to be precise.
Yeah. And so, you just have to see what works for you as a customer, which is precisely your point, I think. And I think that, so it really depends on you as a customer. And if you're an educated customer, you go to and I think these days, more and more of your customers, because you have choice and because you have a wide variety of choices available, and you're able to, and you have diversity of choice, with e-commerce and the ability to choose, you're able to make those educated choices for the most. So your customer necessarily doesn't always go for what is, I think, the easiest option. They may go for what is the most convenient option, but it also depends on what they want, I think. And maybe that's the difference.
Well, when it comes to Etsy, because Redfin, I'm definitely not a real estate guy, but when it comes to Etsy, I think it really depends on like the image of the platform that you're going to. Etsy has like this image of DIY, and a lot of small businesses, as you said, are selling on Etsy because it's really highly personalizable and it's DIY. A lot of companies, a lot of businesses are starting with Etsy, maybe because they don't have like enough money maybe to create their own Shopify store or something like that. But maybe it's just like a first step, and maybe to to measure if basically their product has success online or not before going like to the next step. But it's really, once again, really DIY type of things are on Etsy. When we're talking about like consumer goods, Amazon is in general like the first idea that you have in mind, because it's really simple. It's you just like search for something, they have everything. You can buy everything on Amazon. So education is definitely something, but in 99% of the cases, even in my case, I go straight to Amazon because I know that I'm gonna find like even like the most obscure like thing that nobody has. So.
Good.
I know that we actually had better selection of products compared to Amazon. So I will take that with a pinch of salt. And I used to represent eBay sellers. Here's what I feel is going on with the industry. There are some 4 or 5 big brands that are being pushed at you constantly, and I feel like the marketing profession as such is just kind of drinking that Kool-Aid and selling the same thing to all the sellers. They're not even evaluating. The point you made about COGS is really important, the cost of customer acquisition. You really have to look at it from a standpoint of a business value of what these channels are bringing to you. I think it was this weekend in the Wall Street Journal, I read an article where they said that the cost of customer acquisition is now rising to 40 cents a dollar. And one has to step back and take a look at this and say, does this really make sense anymore? I'm at this point where it says online is just out of reach. It never used to be. Before I worked at eBay, I used to work for Yahoo, so I kind of know the whole spiel of how the advertising industry works. But I just feel like there's a need for a change in the paradigm of how advertising has to evolve. What makes sense anymore, right? I think that's critical for us to learn and understand.
And just to challenge you on the eBay thing, it's once again, I think it's really all part of the image of the platform that you're using. Because for me, I know that you can buy like anything on eBay, but still, in my mind, eBay is still like an auction platform. And I know that it's not the case anymore, but it's been the case like for years and years. And for most people, if you go like in street right now and you ask them what is eBay.com, they're gonna say it's an auction site. And do you want to buy thing on auction? No, right now, well, maybe you won't, but sometimes. But most of the time you want the Amazon experience, which is cheap. In general, that's the cheapest that you can find. They have killed like the shipping, the shipping cost. Now everyone has to do like free shipping. Who's gonna pay for shipping now? No one. So
I take that back, because free shipping is for the customer, but for the seller, it's not cheap. You have to understand that. So it depends on who you're targeting.
From a consumer perspective. From a consumer perspective, who's going to pay for the shipping costs today? If you're launching like your own e-commerce site, at the very beginning, if you make the consumer paying for the shipping, it's a bad thing for you, because you know that they could find like something similar on Amazon, like for no shipping at all. So.
But the point is, the marketplace sellers on Amazon actually charge for shipping, right? It's not free. Those who subscribe to the 1 day, 2 day are actually paying Amazon behind the scenes. It's to the consumer, it's the same experience, but for a seller, it's different. The cost is almost the same, because this is the analysis we used to run. And almost all sellers today actually place their inventory on all sites. It's not just Amazon. They place it on eBay, they place it on Amazon, they place it on Overstock, including Walmart. Walmart also is actually developing an e-commerce marketplace vertical for their online side of the business.
That's, if you don't mind, I'd like to respond to what you were saying there for a second too. What you were saying about Walmart resonates 100% here. We're actually seeing, as clients push us to look outside of Amazon, we're looking now toward retail relationships as publishers in a way. And Walmart is doing that, obviously. Target has been, Target has been fulfilled and maintained through Triad Digital, which is now more of an open marketplace for everyone, not just part of the WPP family. But this is something that's a phenomenon we're seeing here in the US. Understanding that this is a global conference, of course. My concern is, I think the European market in particular is open for a very rude awakening at this point. There are some retail partners like that. Obviously there isn't a Walmart or so, but every national market has a prominent retailer. Some are forward thinking, like MediaMarkt in the Germany, Austria, Switzerland region. You have others that are honestly still so far behind. When reaching out, even on behalf of our clients, they'll say, well, why would we need to charge you for that? You're a merchant with us. We'll just give you the advertising for free. So Europe is very far behind the 8 ball, I guess we could say here, on getting to a level where we are with the US, diversifying the landscape here with Amazon, and then obviously the alternatives.
Probably do one more question.
Hi. So I've heard a lot about inventory, about cheap solutions, but I haven't been hearing about community about loyalty programs, about ways to really provide value to the customer for being loyal to a brand. And we build community technology, so of course I'm sort of biased, but I really see a big trend towards community research, product research with customers, and loyalty programs. So just wanted to see what the panel thinks about that.
Right. I guess we kind of touched upon it when we said that Amazon doesn't really give you a lot of direct communication with your customer. So that's the first problem. I earlier mentioned that you need to understand your customer, so you have to provide value. To us, as an e-commerce company in intimate lifestyle, we provide content. We help to, I always say, edutain the customer. Nobody wants to be educated or lectured, but people want to consume fast information that will help them, to empower them to make the right decision, at least what they think is the right decision. So community, content, and commerce has to be combined. Those 3 C's, if you don't match them up, you're not successful. And that will not help you to build a brand. But again, if you just want to sell 1,000 socks, then you can go on Amazon. Or if you made them yourself, you can probably go there on Etsy. But if you're really in the consumer space, if you sell mass production goods, and you, like in our case, source directly, you have savings, and you want to make sure that those savings be reinvested in something that will build loyalty, that will help to build a brand. And that's the only way to do it, absolutely. So yes to all 3.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you guys letting me come up here and introduce you all. I hope everybody got some good points out of that. I sure did, and we look forward to coming next year. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, with that, we've got about an hour.